Okay, Corey, you're on. You can introduce your panel. And we'll get
Oh, hey, it's me again. Wonderful. Okay, it's fixed. You guys can still hear me okay, right? Good. All right, I'm going to introduce our first panel, and we got some heavy hitters coming up here. It's going to be good. So I'll have Russ Crawford, Diane Chason, Jesse Hahn, and Wade Shute come on up. Grab a seat. These chairs spin. So we've already had some people spinning around on them. They were set pretty high, but I didn't want everybody sitting in like a high chair and fall off, so I squished them down. But if you guys can come on up. Watching a bunch of manly dudes sit on a white leather chair that spins is going to be great. All right. Oh, microphone's there? Okay. Great. Okay, so our topic that we're doing is all about the progress in developing Alberta's hemp industry. There's been a lot of work that's gone in the last number of years, and Alberta really has been a main driver that we've seen in Canada. And I am excited. The hemp industry is alive and well in Alberta, right? You guys agree with that? If it was church, I'd say amen, and you guys would say amen, but we're not doing that right now. So I'm really excited with the panel that we have, and I'm very excited to introduce our first panelist that we have, Russ Crawford. Russ Crawford is the president of Agronomics IT Consulting, and what I love about what I call Russ is he's the OG. He's like the hemp godfather for me. So if you guys would like to warmly introduce the hemp godfather, Russ Crawford.
I don't know why you say that. But I have an offer I think you can't refuse.
Thanks, Corey. Like Perry, I'm supposed to be retired as well. My wife keeps reminding me of that. But there's some things that just keep you going, and they make your juices flow, and the hemp industry has certainly been one for me. And I continue to see progress, and I continue to see barriers. And so whenever there's an opportunity for us to bring down some of those barriers and see that industry move forward a little bit at a time, and sometimes a big bit, I get a lot of satisfaction in that. So I'm delighted to be here today, delighted to talk to you a little bit about the Alberta Hemp Alliance and the progress that we're making. And I'm going to try and bring some clarity to some of the roles that we're all playing in that. But I got to say, first of all, this podium is cool, right? This is a hemp podium. Tam, you did this, didn't you? Where is he? Yeah. Isn't this neat? Yeah. It's so fun to kind of stumble on things that have a hemp story to them when you at least expect it, you know, and this is one, and I think this is kind of a really cool example. So as Corey mentioned, I've been involved in this industry now, I think since 2008 was kind of when I first started, and became aware of hemp. I've been in the commodity industry for 50 years. And I knew very little about hemp, and my brother-in-law actually phoned me up and he said, what do you know about hemp? And I said, well, it's rope and sales and stuff like that, right? And he said, no, man, it's food. And that started this journey for me of learning more about the hemp industry and getting involved in the associations. So I immediately found the CHTA. I'm familiar with farm organizations, with the canola growers, canola council, the wheat and barley growers, those groups. And I know what value they bring to the industry. So, and there was a start of that in hemp with the CHTA, but it wasn't where it could be. And so I got involved with that, and I've been a member since then, and I've been on the board for most of those years in one capacity or another. And I really got a lot of satisfaction out of seeing the industry grow and succeed as an organization and bringing together producers and processors and academics and that sort of thing, and really helping people become aware of what hemp is and what the opportunity is, particularly in Canada. During one of those conferences, this guy came up to me and he said he really wanted me to help in the Alberta hemp industry. That, of course, is Manny. And he started telling me about the ideas of this provincial organization. And I thought, there's not enough room. We barely got enough capacity to run a national organization, never mind 10 provincial organizations. There's too few people. There's 80 farmers in Canada that grow hemp. But he's so persistent. He just won't leave you alone. And I'm thankful for that because he helped me see the value or the importance of hemp in Alberta. And as I've kind of moved on in my role from CHTA and passed that off, to the capable hands of Keith Jones and subsequently Clarence Schwalik from Manitoba Harvest, those guys are continuing the good work at the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance. But it's really different for what you need in a province. There's a whole different set of criteria and different things that are important. So the CHTA looks after big picture things. They look after dealing with Health Canada. Thank God I don't have to do that anymore. They've got larger research programs. They're looking after the animal feed file and those kinds of things. Those are national, right? And they're big project type subjects. And there's a role for CHTA in that. But there's a place for hemp in Alberta, and there's a need for us to build the industry here. It's a great place for hemp. The climate is great, the soil's great, the political environment is great, the need is great. We're carbon producers in Alberta, and we're going to talk about carbon over the next couple of days here, and I'm really excited for you to start to learn and hear more about that story. But there's a provincial message, there's things that are important at a provincial level that needs somebody looking at that and knocking on doors and pushing that file forward. And so that's the role of the AHA. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the things that we do there. There's one other factor, I was just looking at my notes. Education is important, but that's important at all levels. Whether you're educating people in government, consumers, processors, and teaching them about what hemp has to offer in terms of a food ingredient or in terms of a building material that they might not otherwise have considered. So, but everybody takes on that role. Everyone in this room and everyone in the hemp industry across Canada. But we take that on as an important contribution from the Alberta Hemp Alliance as well. So I've got a couple of slides here. I'm just gonna. There we go. Okay, so these are the kinds of things that we've done so far, the kind of structure that we've set in place. So we've developed a board of directors, and that started in Drayton Valley, of course, and is largely made up of people from that area. But it's important to have direction and important to have that accountability as a board. There's been a lot of lobbying to the provincial government. Manny's done a lot of that. Corey's an expert at this. He's very well connected. He knows how to knock on doors and how to ask for things. And as a result, we've received good funding from the government over a couple of years to manage the operations. And we've also received funding from ARDAR as we start to work on specific projects. We're getting really good uptake and interest in our industry from ARDAR. We'll talk more about that over the next couple of days as well. But just to know that they've already helped us point us in the right direction on a project. I remember I went to Trevor at ARDAR and I said, this is a project we're looking at, and we need this vast sum of money. And he said, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. You need to get yourself organized a bit. So here's a small fund just to get this project started. And this is a research project on genetic development, and we'll talk about that tomorrow as well. But it was, that kind of encouragement that recognizes the value for hemp in Alberta with an organization that truly is vested in developing research and developing products here in Alberta. So we've created a number of documents to tell our story. These are the kinds of things that, academically, it's like, oh, I need a paper on this and a paper on that. And you think, is that really worth all our time and effort? Well, it is, because you've got to be able to tell people so that, particularly in government, particularly when you're asking for funding to get the ball rolling, but also when you're talking to consumers and processors and investors, like, what's the deal here and where's the opportunity? Paint this picture for me. So we did up a white paper, and that's just kind of an in-depth report. It identifies a problem. It talks about, what's the stake, what's involved in the whole industry. Where does this go, and where's the opportunity? We made a small manifesto, which is really specific to the AHA, that talks about our goals and what we hope to accomplish as part of an organization. And then we wrote up a strategic plan, and that's, you've got to have one of these. If you need money from anybody, the first thing they ask you is, well, what's your strategic plan? How are you going to make this happen? So that's the action plan. That's the things, the specific steps that you're going to take as an organization to try and move this industry forward. So we've developed these documents. They're available on our website for members. I would encourage you, if you're not a member, you should be. It's not expensive. I think Vanessa said it's $100. We just kind of got a flat rate. It's not about generating money. It's just about, you know, keeping the lights on within the organization. But it's a way to operate as an entity and represent our membership. So I encourage anybody who isn't a member to please do that. And there's a spot in the folder there, the handout this morning, and there's a little QR code in the back where if you want to link on that, and you can understand how you can make that happen. We're also creating a dialogue with the provincial government for a provincial checkoff. You know, other commodities all have checkoff funding, and it's basically a collection when farmers deliver a crop, wheat, barley, canola, flax, whatever, that a small amount, just to, you know, some pennies on the dollar, go towards an organization, producer-run organization that manages those funds for research and market development and that kind of thing. The Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance is working on a national association like that called the Promotion and Research Agency. Just to give you some context on that, in 2012, at a CHTA meeting, I was standing just like this talking to the group, and they said, we should do that for the hemp industry. And that was 12 years ago, and they're really, really close to getting that put through. I mean, it just takes forever. The provincial organizations are a little bit less onerous in terms of process, but it still takes some time. But importantly, it's a producer-driven initiative. It's not an organization initiative. So the AHA can't go and say, we want to set up a commission and collect money from farmers to spend where we want to spend it. That's not how it works. So farmers have to be the driver behind this. Within the CHTA, it's the farmer members that are pushing that forward. And similarly, within the Alberta Hemp Alliance, it needs to be farmers that are asking for a collection, asking to be able to collect money from all hemp growers, food, fiber, fraction, whatever, to go towards a fund that would help cover costs of those specific projects, education, research, market development, whatever they think is important. But you know, we've started the ball rolling on this. We had some conversations with the provincial group in regard to this checkoff idea, but it does need producer involvement in order for it to move forward. But there's a need and there's an opportunity, so we just have to facilitate that as another step in that process. So here's specifically some, just a little bit of information on the white paper. I'm not putting these slides up for you to read them. I've made it deliberately difficult to read them, but it's not the point. It's really just about the kinds of things we're looking at. I think, Corey, you mentioned Hannah and the Northern Alberta Development. Some of that stuff comes from their work, some of this from our own work. And we're really just talking here about this is the opportunity across the province of locations where we could see processing plants. Importantly, that there need to be a number of them. It's not a one plant fits all kind of an opportunity. So that's the kind of work we're dealing with. Red tape reduction. Yeah, what are the issues? What are the barriers that we're dealing with here as an agency? So that's part of this white paper. We take this to governments. We say, here's the opportunity. Here are the problems. Here's how you can help us. With the manifesto, we talk about the role of the Alberta Hemp Alliance. Again, this document's available on our site. And then our strategic plan is also there as well. And that's a fairly lengthy and in-depth analysis of the market. Quite a number of people contributed to this document, and we just kind of rolled it all up together. And it's this kind of thing. So as people come and go within the organization, whether it's on the board or on the executive, the document stays true. It's there for everyone to use and to use as a guideline and a map going forward. So it's an important piece of paper to have. Within the commission, it was the Alberta Agricultural Products Marketing Council. We had just developed a really nice relationship with Brent McEwen, the lead on that organization, and then he went off and moved to the Alberta Health Services. So we got to start all over again with somebody new and kind of educate them on hemp. Every time there's a new premier, every time there's a new ag minister, you got to go tell the story again, right? These documents are really helpful in terms of, making that happen a little bit faster. And fortunately, the bureaucratic groups are typically the same. So our industry contacts, people like Lori Jo, who not only understand the industry, but actually are very helpful in making it move forward, they stay the same. And so, and Jan, who's, involved with, Jan Slasky with the government, but, he's at all these conferences and he's widely respected around the world. And he's one of our key contacts within the government. So, those relationships are important, but, we've got a new ag minister and we're kind of the warm-up act for him today. But, it's important that they get the message. And so we're delighted that he's coming and, in his predecessors, Nate Horner was here the last time we gathered. So that we've got the ability to reach out to these folks and to help them understand where the benefits of hemp are. So as I said, we encourage you to join the Hemp Alliance, helping build our industry here in Alberta. Networking has been mentioned. You can't say it enough. I mean, the value of these conferences is critical. It's how I learned about this industry. I continue to learn about it every time I get together with people. There's something new going on. I've mentioned carbon already, but I can't not mention it because it's a big story, and there's a lot more to be learned about carbon sequestration and the uniqueness of hemp in terms of the carbon industry, and particularly in Alberta, we're the largest producer of carbon in Canada by a long shot. We have ways to sequester that. I'm not a big fan of burying carbon back in the ground. I think that's just kicking the can down the road. I am a big fan of carbon offsets. So if you can find some way to offset that production of carbon with sequestration of that carbon, and guess what? Hemp's got a pretty good story to tell about that. So those are the kind of things that we will continue to be involved in. As a member, you'd also gain access to all of the publications. You get a discount on your membership or your fees to come to conferences and events like this. We've hosted some roundtables. We've hosted other sort of specific meetings. We do some online conversations around hemp, and just as opportunities come up when there's a need to get some people together, hemp, the AHA, kind of steps up and performs that role for the industry as a whole. So at this point, this is my typical got any questions slide. If anybody has any questions now or later, I'll be here for 2 days. But if there's anything burning in your mind right now that you want to ask about, we'd be happy to pause for a second and just answer any questions. Okay. Oh, there's one.
Is there anything specific that you're doing to attract farmers to your association?
Well, I mean, you try to. That's a one-on-one kind of a thing. You can't go to one place and find all the farmers in a room very often. And so it's an important part of this organization that there's balance in the membership. It's wonderful to have processors in the room to act as sponsors. They typically lead the way in terms of bearing the burden of cost, but there's an equal sharing and an equal value in the association with producers as well. So getting them in the room is important. It's kind of like I say, a one-on-one though. You've got to you got to say, well, bring a buddy. Tell your neighbor, but a lot of times we get a lot of questions, like people call this AHA office asking questions about how do I get started in the business. So we get a contact that way, and then they become part of our distribution list. But you can only invite them, you can only rely on the media to spread the word that the organization is here. I definitely like to see more farmers as a group in the room than anyone else, because I think that's the core of the industry and the opportunity for growth. But it's always a challenge. So as you as processors come in contact with farmers, it's worthwhile encouraging them to join as independents to this organization as well. So that that it's not all on the AHA to go out, or the executive to go out and find farmer members, but for the processors as well, it's a good opportunity to encourage them to join and just learn more about their industry, because we do add value. If you look at the value that those other associations, the canola growers associations and flax and that sort of thing, there's a lot of good work that's done by those groups, more than any individual can do. That's the neat thing. One group can act on behalf of thousands of farmers and creating benefits. So there's certainly an opportunity to participate in something bigger than your individual farm. So I certainly would. I always want to see more farmers in the room. That's kind of my thing, but it's challenging for sure. Perry, thanks. All right, well, thank you very much. I think that's everything. And
Thank you to the Godfather. So now I have the privilege of introducing Diane Chason to come up and speak. She's the Executive Director for Smoky River Regional Economic Development, as well as a lot of other things. But what I love about Diane is her voice. It just kind of melts me like butter. So if she could say the same thing as me, and it sounds way smarter when she says it. So if you guys want to give a warm welcome for Diane, if she comes up.
So, hi everyone. Thanks to come to the conference. It's a great turnout. I'm really proud of it. Like Corey said, I'm Diane. I'm involved in the hemp industry since 2017. I'm the youngest one, I think, in the game. But how I start to be involved in the hemp industry was I am with the CDA, the Conseil de Développement Économique of Alberta. I have a contract with them. So I have a colleague in northeast of the province. Her name is Suzanne Provost. And she was approached from farmer to see what can we do with hemp? What is the deal if I grow hemp? Do we have market for it? So she started doing some research. And I always said to my work, to myself, like the only impossible journey that is the one that you never begins. And that is from Tony Robbins. So I use that on my day-to-day work. So when Suzanne started to do those research for a few farmers, she organized farmers' information session and realized that they have a lot of interest and a lot of questions. Nothing was moving too fast. It's still not moving too fast from my point of view, but so she did some research. She applied for a grant at the provincial level, the CARES program in 2016, and she got approved. So compared to Drayton Valley, the CDA got approved. So for me, hemp was, I don't know nothing about hemp. I barely know nothing about farming, even I am in north of Alberta, because I'm from down east. I'm used to fishermen and crab and lobster and shrimp and all those things. So it was a learning curve for me to be an economic development officer in an agriculture area. So I was just starting to know a little bit, and someone else threw the hemp industry at me. Oh my God, what's that? So my boss in Edmonton from the CDA said, you better learn and fast because we got a project and you will lead it. Okay, so we hire a firm to help us. I knew I have a dream that I have a hard time with my stuff. Okay, so we can go at the next one. So that was a little bit the start. So we hired a firm who was from Manitoba. It was EcoWest. And the consultant was François Catelier. He was a specialist for special crop for many years. He was involved with Paul's Canada and a bunch of different things. So he was helping me to lead that project. So after that was done, we have to set up, the grant was to reach, to look after the market, what is available up there, what we can do, identified a few hemp fiber processing sites, estimate the costs, and then technical specification and recommendation for the next step. So that's why we received money for that project. So after that was clear, we decided to Okay, we need a committee. So we did a steering committee. And we have all the names of the people. We were having 16 different groups with 17 different people, because some of them, their name is twice. And originally, the HANA project was for the north of Alberta. But talking with Laurie Jo and some rep from Western Diversification, we find out that other municipalities apply for hemp project. So François and I drove to Drayton Valley to meet with Maddie, Dan Madlog, and to see what they were expecting to have from the hemp industry. And they have something going on already over there. So we sit down, and because Drayton Valley is more central, they were not qualified for the HANA project, but we decided to join them. Anyway, it was to our advantage, and for them, for sure, to be part of that HANA committee. So the HANA was 16 different groups with government agency and everything meeting every month to discuss the hemp industry, what's going on in Alberta and around outside Alberta. So they produce a transportation analysis, because the north of the province, the main obstacle is transportation. So we have a transportation analysis. We did a business case to attract investors, but that now it's like, it's still good information in those documents, but it's not really up to date, because they are produced basically in 2018 kind of thing. So it's like 5 years in this industry. We have a lot of changes. We have a lot of new players in the game, because when we start, we were a handful. Okay, Terry Radford, Dan Madlog, who else in Alberta? You know, just a few group of farmers here and there. So a lot of people who wants to do something, but so we were not really sure. So with those information, if any of you wants to have a copy of it, just let me know, and I will provide that to you guys. So after that, one thing that HANA did, they did the first International Hemp Fiber Processing Symposium. And at that symposium, it was in October 2018. And at that symposium, we got people from Alberta, for sure, Manitoba, Quebec, Ontario. We have people from England, Germany, Belgium, and most of the steering committee to that events. It was 3 days events. We went to visit Vegreville decortication plan. We went to Terry Radford in Airdrie. We went to see Dan Madlog in Airdrie. And plus we have a visit to the facility here in Edmonton, and I forgot the name. I think you went yesterday. Really sorry about that. So, and it's give us the chance to visit different municipalities, engage conversation with them, and it was a great turnout for the first one. And down the road, I would like to see another one, like where we have people from US, international, to come in Alberta to see what we can do on the hemp industry. And during that period, too, it was really a startup of, we saw a lot of multitude farmer information session all over the place. It was not just HANA who did that, it was the timing, it was the trend at that time. Between 2018, 2019, every month somewhere in the province you had an information session from, for the farmer, for the hemp. And then, after HANA was done, the project has an end date. And the HANA, they receive funding from the provincial government, but CARES is only 50% of the funding. So the Sterling Committee was people or community, businesses who put money to the 50% who was missing for the whole project. And then after HANA was done, we were still a few people who wants to continue. So with the help of Drayton Valley, the town of Drayton Valley and Maddie, and we create Alberta Hemp Alliances. So, and I think it's a great organization. It's over the year, it's changed. The mandate from HANA was not exactly the same as Alberta Hemp Alliances today. So they grow it, they make it better, and I think with Corey and his relationship with the government, you cannot find a better guy to sit there. So that is my story, and be part of HANA because it's an important player in the hemp industry, and we need an association like that to grow the industry. And I want to thank you, all the different players. Okay, some has been there forever, but we still have other people coming at the table. We have new technology coming up, and I think the hemp industry in Alberta has a bright future, and I'm excited to be part of it. Thank you.
Great job, Diane. I was right about her voice, though, right? I listened to that all day. She should read audiobooks for people. So now I have the privilege of introducing someone who I think pretty much everybody in this room knows. He has a way of kind of getting around and meeting people. But Jesse Hahn, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Natural Fiber Technologies, so give it up for Jesse.
Thanks, Corey. I'm going to stand behind this thing since Tam made it, and we're partners. It's my first time. I'm going to do my best to use it here. Certainly. Thanks, Chris. Known Chris for a long time. He's good at what he does. So thanks, everybody who came on the tour yesterday. We've got open doors, so anybody who missed it, if anybody's interested, if you think you're a perceived competitor or something like that, we'll just make sure we cover up all the important stuff. But you're all welcome to come and check it out. I think if I could say something that's a little bit, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we have a hemp fiber industry here yet, and I know that is that's a little tough, I think, for some people to hear, because we're all here in this room. What do you mean we don't have a hemp industry yet? And Sure Food's been at it since 1998, and you know, CBD came on the scene there a few years ago in 2018, and I tell you, my LinkedIn blew up. It was like a trading platform for CBD isolates, distillates, and then about a year later, it was all about, oh, you know, this farmer committed suicide, and this person bet the farm on CBD XYZ, and now it's kind of morphed, and we're talking about hemp industry development. A lot of that activity on my LinkedIn, which is primarily hemp, cannabis executives, kind of stuff like that. It's a lot of fiber talk. A lot of fiber talk, and I think that people are coming around to this idea, you know, whether they like it or not, whether it's consumer pull or government push, they're coming around to this idea that we need alternatives. Now, it doesn't hurt to do things better. It doesn't hurt to make these conventional products, you know, in an alternative way, using biomaterials, using things like that, things that are better for the environment, better for farmers. We're talking about carbon sequestration, and I think hemp's tremendous. You said, don't store it underground, and I agree with you, not in those big caverns. But the magic in the hemp plant is soil carbon sequestration. So it actually stores the carbon, you know, close enough to the surface that it's going to be used by the ecosystem. And it's really good for the soil that way. And if you can manage to drum up a carbon offset protocol or something like that out of that, great, please do share it. Because it's not just as easy as planting hemp or making a block or, you know, sequestering it in plastic or something. It needs to be a big enough win for somebody to develop a carbon offset protocol for. So, yeah, all for it. Let's bring it. How are you doing with that? Oh, it's not up down here. Oh, shoot. Well, here I'm just rattling on. Okay, well, I can look over my shoulder. You guys might know that this is, some of these are recycled anyway. It was a last-minute idea to put this presentation together. It's a little bit in our background, very tiny, so I guess I am going to read it verbatim. NFT essentially started in 1998 with Tam Techley. He came out of the forestry industry, did some really disruptive things there in a good way. And he founded TTS as an applied research product development testing lab. He said, all this waste in forestry, looking around, all the waste in agriculture, well, what can we make out of those things? Like this platform here. By 2006, they kind of had enough products, and he evolved the company into what he called a biocomposites incubator. So you got small commercial or small manufacturing equipment, like pilot manufacturing equipment, started doing like limited commercial runs of these products and see if they could get traction. They did get some traction in the fiber mat and the auto parts. They spun out Biocomposites Group with his partner Dan at the time. It was excellent. And by 2016, it was time to move on and commercialize some of this research that Tam had been putting together for a long time. And it was right around there where I entered the scene. Next week will be my 6-year anniversary in this industry. And any of the newcomers, any of the ones that have been here, it's tough. I don't know anybody here who's had an easy time with it, right, Spencer? Yeah, I don't think anybody's had an easy time with it. So there's this little thing I saw once. It was at an event. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me and ask for a little participation. Everybody put up their hand as high as they can. Now put up a little higher. That's what I thought. You know, and each time I hit one of these barriers or something, I think, oh shit, you know, we had to sue Aurora Cannabis. Can you imagine going up against that titan? You know, I'm thinking, man, it's time to give up. We're toast or whatever. I mean, I've never really believed I'd give up, but I just think, I'll just push a little higher. Well, that's as high as I can go? Yeah, right. You know, can we go a little harder, and try to get us. That's important. Anyway, 2016, we realized, yeah, they're actually right. We've got all these great products, but there is no industry. So we can't commercialize any of these products. We don't have this supply chain, and that's why I say there's no industry. We don't have this stable, secure, raw material supply chain in the fiber space to call this thing an industry. If you don't have a stable, secure, raw material supply source, you don't have an industry. You don't have customers. You don't have anything. So we don't have industry yet. We're working at it. And so 2016, we realized, shit, no industry, no decortication, no primary processing. Can't even get it off the field. So we started working on a mobile, I don't know, easy to deploy, low cost, high throughput decortication machine. 2021 was a good year for us. 2022, great year for us. Actually, we got new headquarters. And we're just in the process right now of finishing up that 2022-2023 grant with Alberta Innovates for our latest decorticator. July 2022, we got this 5-acre facility. If you know us long enough, you'll know our last facility was so small we couldn't even turn a truck around in the back. We had no space for anything. It was great. We had government come through. We had half the entrepreneurs in this room were through to look at our products and what could be done, but they said it was not a manufacturing facility. So this was a big move for us. We've got an active rail spur. We've got tanks if anybody needs to store any liquids. I don't know. And we've got a weigh scale and all that yard space. So it's really been big for us growing. Essentially, if you don't know already, we turn the fiber into different products. There's a showcase for those who don't know us yet. These are old pictures, but a truck canopy. This is Hemp Canada or Manitoba Harvest Fresh Hemp Foods in Manitoba. These aesthetic panels and the concrete blocks, they're concrete and hemp fiber. So we got a few showcases. You know, we may, instead of the big capital expense of going straight into some massive, you know, commercial facility, you know, we pilot it first. Is this something that the market even wants? You know, chairs, things. A lot of these technologies have evolved since, particularly the concrete and the plastic. We've been working on different iterations over the years, mainly because we didn't have the money to commercialize it, so might as well keep tinkering around, right? I mentioned the gap and the missing link is the value chain. Here's our prototype machine in 2018. 2019, we called it the Hector because it's easier to say than hemp decorticator. I still hear decortificator and all sorts of different things. We just call it Hector. Spring 21, we got our second generation. Made a few of those. This is our second generation H.2.2. We're continuously improving. That's the whole point of developing this equipment or developing a product. You're not going to get perfection on the first go. Perfection is the killer of good. Let's just get good enough and get going and dial it in. And so that's what we've been doing. And this is, it's not a great picture because it's kind of hidden by all those tote bags, but there's a big blue machine back there, and you'll see we've got a bale unroller, and we've got a new infeed there. And so that's kind of our new line, thanks to Innotek Alberta, Alberta Innovates, they helped us finance the building of that one, and we'll be knocking on your door again, I'm sure. Maybe not for a new one of those, but. And then to the right, we finally got a fiber cleaner. So not being well capitalized, we got a bootstrap. We bootstrapped it here since as long as I've been here, and Tam a little longer. So we finally got our eyes set on this used fiber cleaning equipment, which we're really looking forward to. I'm not going to talk much about these blocks, just because there may be a little announcement coming up tomorrow. So if you stick around for that, it's a little bit more about. I guess this is a little sneak peek then. Okay. Yeah, I did, didn't I? Well, I guess I got one more last thing to say, and I'm taking it. Maybe it's a little cheesy or whatever. Taking it from Bono, U2. It says, carry each other. It's in one of the songs. It's carry each other. This is an industry. We're trying to build an industry. We got all the pieces of the puzzle in this room together, and through our networks, we got all the pieces we need to build an industry. We carry each other. We help each other out. We might actually get there soon, before I retire. So, thank you, everybody. Questions?
Thank you, Jesse. So there will be a chance at the end to ask questions, so we'll have the mics and stuff kind of going here. But we do have one more speaker. You might have noticed if you've been looking at the program that whoever this is must have grown hair since this picture, but Trevor was unable to make it today. He had another engagement. So yeah, a little bit better. It's a little bit closer. So Wade jumped in to kind of save the day. So excited to hear what he has to say. And he's from Plante Technologies, Inc. So give it up for Wade.
Yep, no worries. Take your time. I'm not as eloquent as Jesse, so I'm not going to be entertaining until this gets up. But I do have to start by saying I feel like the oldest new kid on the block here, primarily because I feel like I've been around. I know I've been around this industry since 1999, and yet Plante Technologies is a relatively new development. It came out in 2020. Immediately prior to COVID, so yay us. Yeah, timing is everything, right? So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about us and about what we're up to and some of the challenges that we've faced as well here. So first of all, if anybody in the room is an engineer, or you know an engineer, or you've ever had the misfortune of working with an engineer, I apologize, I have to throw this slide up because I think very linear and I have to go through the stages that I'm going to go through, okay? Yeah, so now that that's out of my system, a little bit of background, sort of give you some context around where Plante was created and why Plante was created. We kind of live in a world of materials, and those materials are finite. And every time we extract those materials, because all materials come from an extractive industry, every time we extract those materials, we scratch dirt, we damage things. And as a corporate citizen in this planet, it's really, really important for us to remember a couple of things that we have to do. One is if we're going to be taking materials for the things that we like to make and things we like to use, we have to do so very carefully with the minimum of damage to the environment that we're borrowing from. And secondly, if we do damage, and we will damage the environment, it's incumbent on us to fix it, basically. So with that having been said, I'll tell you a little bit about Plante. This sort of sets the stage for why we are who we are. First and foremost, we are a biomaterials company, okay? Our primary missions are twofold, one of which is we want to create materials from sustainable sources to build the things that we really want to do. And second of which is we want to use some of those materials to heal the environment from which we're borrowing. So that's why through this presentation you'll see a very heavy emphasis on soil stabilization, erosion control, remediation, and stuff like that. That's our primary industry that we're serving right now out of our facility in, Sturgeon County. As a biomaterials company, we are not a hemp company. We do use hemp in our formulations, and we use it where and when it makes the most sense to do so. There's some pretty amazing things that can be done with hemp. There's equally amazing things that can be done with other materials. I know Tam knows this very well. He's been doing this for an awful long time. And Jesse alluded to it as well, is that if we have security, fiber supply security issues, you know, it's good to have sort of a divested material feedstock. So our company specializes basically in producing fibers 2 inches and under. This is a little bit of a departure from conventional decortication. The reason why we select 2 inches and under is because it really allows us to do high throughput, low capex, low opex fiber processing. Okay. As I said, hemp is only in about a quarter of our products. The other 3/4 of our products are made from anything from cereal straws to other oilseed straw to wood residues, and even, you know, like we have here, food wastes. So if we're talking about creating a biotic amendment for a specific site that we're trying to reclaim, we formulate with other ingredients, okay? Most of our products do become somebody else's things to play with, their ingredients, their feedstocks, so they can make brilliant things. What we really want to do is we really want to perfect our fiber geometries such that people can do what they need to do economically and technically superior to what they're currently doing. Okay? Yeah, we work basically with people to take their own specifications. We develop our own processes to the point where we give them exactly what they need. Okay? This is obviously it's a pretty impressive slide in terms of the numbers and volumes and billions and trillions and stuff. These are basically the main markets that we serve. Basically starting off with the environmental and reclamation markets. That's the primary reason for our plant in Sturgeon County. As a virtue of what we're doing, we're taking materials and we're also fractionating them. So when we fractionate them, some of those fractions would otherwise be considered waste products. We have markets for those as well, sometimes in composite industry, sometimes in pulp, paper, and packaging. And we're working with partners in the room here to make some of these things very real and very tangible. So, as I said, environmental reclamation is the substantial portion of our current demand. Our powders, and when I say powders, we're milling down anything from 2 inches fiber length all the way down to micron-sized flowable powders. A lot of our powders are under 50 micron average particle size, and many of them get down below 20, and there's a good chunk of some of our products that are also down onto the nano scale. This becomes important when we're dealing with selected composites where we need a highly refined fiber. Okay. Yeah, what am I wanting to say here? So soil reinforcement and soil enhancement are the primary products that we're making right now. Pulp fibers, oilfield fiber, additives, and composite powders, these are all subsets of stuff that we're doing when we fractionate our materials. Okay, this here is just a slide of our management team. You can see our pictures on the website. The first comment that somebody made to me when they looked at this is said, "Holy crap, there's a lot of gray hair on that." Which is why, again, you know, being an old new kid on the block, it's kind of humbling here. So we have a lot of really, we'll call them seasoned veterans in the oil and gas, in the erosion control, even right down to finance and corporate management. So, okay, some of the challenges that we faced as a company can be basically summed up in these 4 slides. First of all, the one on the far left, that's our dust collection system that came with the building that we bought and took possession of last May. Used equipment. Used equipment is wonderful, but I'm beginning to get a little hand shy of anything that has a Ritchie Brothers sticker on it. Primarily because it looks like such a good deal when you buy it. And then you get it, and then you start ripping it apart, and then, oh, geez, it needs bearings. Oh, geez, that shaft needs to be repaired. Oh, geez, we got all sorts of problems that come with used equipment. In some cases, they are boat anchors, but we've actually floated a ship with a lot of boat anchors. And all this comes down to tight capital, right? If we had the capital we expected at the beginning of the exercise, We could have probably gone out and selected some new pieces of equipment that would have made our lives a little bit easier, maybe a little more expensive. That having been said, it's kind of gives one a sense of pride when one walks in and says, well, that's a used potato conveyor, that's an old forage chopper, that there actually came from the aerospace industry, and you managed to cobble all these things together into a process that actually works at scale to hit targets that we want to do, right? Unforeseen circumstances is the picture number 2, second from the left. Even when you've selected this beautiful equipment from Ritchie Brothers and it's on its way to your site, some unforeseeable things can happen, like trucks almost hitting ditches. This trucker took a little too long to decide when to turn, and I don't know if you guys can see the slide very well, but that back axles there are all hanging off the ditch. They're not in contact with the ground at all. Yeah, there we go. So it took us a little while to figure out how we were going to safely unload him without losing our load, as well as killing people and flipping trucks and stuff like that. So, all right, the third slide there is a picture of a pump. This was a bit of a product development exercise that we had. We shipped a product to a client, and they wanted to test it out. The first thing they did was they plugged their pump, and they said, well, your fiber is absolute crap. So, interesting. So I went out to the site and I talked with them, saw what they were doing. We unplugged the pump, we replugged the pump, we unplugged the pump again, and I suggested a couple of changes. They made some changes to their pump, because they can adjust clearances in that pump. And the next thing you know, that material sprayed beautifully. This is for a hydroseeding application for erosion control. And you know, in a lot of cases, we're working to refine our formulations, but in some cases, we're also helping our clients refine their own processes such that they can wind up using these fibers to achieve the technical outcomes they're looking for. And finally, this dusty environment that was in our Quonset hut in the middle of the night after we had tried to, or after we spent the day basically working on getting the line assembled and ready to run. This is both good news and bad news. The bad news is I was running in a dusty environment in a Quonset hut at night. The good news is the reason why I was doing it was we had customer orders before we had an operating line. So in some cases, you just have to do what you have to do in order to get product out the door while the line is getting coupled together. And so luckily, the line got completed, the order got shipped, and everybody was happy. So currently, we are operational. We are operational at about 3/4 of a ton an hour in a single line. That single line is feeding both our powder products as well as our mulch products. So we have a choice to make based on the orders that we have, and we're booking about a month out right now for any of the orders. So we look at our orders and we decide which line we're going to run. The issue is our 2024 erosion control season is coming up on us, and we're going to need a dedicated line for the mulch product. So we're looking at splitting the front end of our line right now such that we can run 2 products at the same time. So you can see, first picture there is our baled mulch product that gets sold into hydroseeding operations, and they basically tank mix it and spray it up on hills to stabilize slopes. And the valve bags over there, you see, those are our powder products, and those are going to our chemicals and composites markets. So basically, that's the end of my presentation. If you guys do have any questions, happy to entertain them when Corey says it's okay for us to ask questions. Or you have my contact information there if you ever need to reach out. All right? Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. So just as we're moving ahead, I think we have a few minutes for questions. Hey, is that fair, Perry?
I think we can take a 15-minute break. You do your little thing, take a 15-minute break for coffee, and everybody be back by 11. I was going to go to the podium, but you finish.
Ooh la la, whatever Perry said. You guys hear that? Okay. So Russ had a couple comments that he just wanted to share, but if you guys have any questions, there's a microphone there. I'm going to grab the mic here, and we got time for a couple questions anyway. So.
Thanks, Corey. Something just occurred to me while I was listening to these presentations is that, you know, why these guys? Why are they telling you their story? They're interesting. It's showing some progress in our industry. There's probably 20 other stories just like that in the room here. There's many, many businesses that are at different stages of development, different stages of success. So I encourage you to connect with each other and hear their stories. You know, we've got some wonderful success in the industry beyond, you know, these two companies here that have joined and shared with us today. And so it's important that we connect. There's a lot of regional representation here of people that are interested in being a home for your industry if you're just starting up for your business. So there's opportunities to hear what, you know, they're bringing to the table, what they're looking for as well. So this is a really golden opportunity to meet people and find out, you know, what's going on in our industry now, but also in the future. What is it going to look like, and how can you be a part of that? So, you know, we put a couple of groups up here that have some good stories to tell, but you know, by no means is that everything. There's lots and lots of things happening with people that are in this room here today. So I just wanted to, you know, make you aware of that and encourage everybody to network as much as possible. So I think with that...
You're going to get a 15-minute coffee break under the condition that you're back here at 11 o'clock. Because the minister is here. He could start early, but he said, no, let him have some coffee.